Well, greetings everybody. This is Cleveland Mosher, art director of STARES Back, and I'm here today to talk you through my process on this painting of the Corrupted Chap. So as you can see, I started this one a little bit differently. I actually began with a sketch this time around, as opposed to just going in and painting from scratch and starting with a silhouette. I thought because this creature has got all these weird barbs and creepy legs and stuff sprouting off of it, that it would be better to sketch it in pencil and get a more lively kind of feel. And I'm glad I did. It came out really well, I think. So, as you can see, I'm not too married to all the original lines I put down. I'm trying to keep it fairly loose. I'm not trying to build up a really tight sort of anime style or cartoon style sketch. I'm just trying to keep it kind of painterly and traditional. I start by blocking in basic tone, or getting a silhouette first with dark, and then blocking in your core values, highlights, midtones, and darks. And when you do it this way, you can keep things pretty simple and still get a nice sense of realism. So these guys have been corrupted by the void from the crystals they were mining, these void crystals. So I'm sort of working up to the point where I'll be adding those onto him on his shoulder blade. So that's why his right shoulder right now is kind of simplistic. There's a smoke effect there, working up for the eye. It's a really nice smoke texture pack I got a month or two ago. Pretty happy with it. It's proven useful on a number of illustrations now. Great time saver, for sure. Yeah, so now I'm going back over and I'm adding all those tiny little highlights as well. You can I've sort of, for this character, I really kind of cut out the middleman on when it came to details. It's either really loose and sketchy, or these tight little highlights and clean points. And I think that's the way I'm going to take a lot of these images in the future, because it's clearly working. It still has a bit of liveliness, but also realism at the same time, considering how goofy and high fantasy these images are. I still, try to maintain some sort of sense of correct lighting and realism. There we go, finally getting those crystals properly in there. As you can see, it's just a 1, 2, 3 read. They're basically cubes, so you just have a dark side, a gray side, and a light side, depending on the direction they're angled in, and then you just add a little bit of highlights, and if you keep it loose, they look a little bit more chipped, and instead of being really these clean industrial edges that you don't necessarily want. And this is the phase where I'm starting to play with color a little bit more. I want to get those, kind of show a separation between the crystal parts, how parts of him are starting to crystallize a little bit. Brings a little extra glow and detail to that. So here I'm sort of just picking areas and throwing purple down, seeing if I like it, seeing if I don't. There's a little bit of blue into like the mid sort of depth shadows, then your reflected highlights. One lesson to know about reflective highlights is, and what I mean by that are the like those blue sections, for instance, in the wrist or on the elbow or in the inner arm on the right side as well, or that part like on the what's left of the thigh. Those sort of bluish areas, those are what you would quantify as reflected lights the trick with them is to make sure that they're never as bright as your midtones. Your reflected lights are still part of the shadow family, and you get a better sense of realism and form if they're not super bright. In sci-fi, you can usually get away stylistically with having like pretty bright reflective lights, but in this case I wanted something a little bit more subtle, considering that the image itself is anything but subtle. I mean, the character design it's literally exploding, with just crazy details and creepy sections. So I wanted to kind of knock back the color a little bit and keep the form fairly consistent, and really try and focus on making the image look painterly. And then in a couple of places you bring in that more intense range of tone and color, that intense saturation and those really vibrant spots of contrast where it really pops. For the most part, I successfully avoided relying on photo texturing too much for this image until the very end, just to do a little bit of extra detail in there. But even then, it's just the patterning on the eye, and then the stars that you'll see at the very end, giving that kind of glow off of the crystals. Before that, there wasn't any photo texturing on this image, which I was pretty happy with, because I tend to be more reliant on photo texturing just to give myself some grip on the canvas. But I want to be a little more self-reliant, and it proved positively here, I think. When you look at the final output, it really saved me a great deal of time. I only did this sketch in a couple days, as opposed to a week, which was very nice. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hopefully we'll try doing more of these spoken videos, or videos with audio over the top of them, as opposed to just the painting process. I think that y'all can get a little bit more out of this when there's some dialogue. Please leave a like and subscribe. It's pretty helpful for our channel as we're trying to grow. Thanks again for watching, and we'll catch you later.